Tonight, as you sit down, letting go of all the worries outside and allowing your mind to settle, let the Zen stories and teachings guide you into another space, where the noise of the world can no longer reach, where you can only hear the footsteps of your own return to peace. There is a Zen story that tells of a night under the bright moon, when a Zen master took his disciple for a walk in the garden. The master pointed to the moon and said, "Do you see that moon?" The disciple nodded. The master smiled. "The moon is always full and bright. It is only hidden by clouds that the eyes cannot see. Your mind is the same, originally pure, but when clouds of greed, anger, and delusion gather, you believe yourself to be miserable and restless." Hearing this, the disciple suddenly felt as if a heavy stone had fallen from his chest. That teaching was simple, yet it carried the full essence of the Dharma. Happiness is already within us. We just need to remove the layers of clouds that obscure it. In today's life, as we are swept into cycles of work, responsibilities, and countless worries, people easily drown in fatigue. We often seek peace outside, in a trip, in financial security, or in a perfect relationship. But just as the Zen master said, all these are only clouds passing across the sky of the mind. What matters is not how many clouds are outside, but whether we can recognize that the sky is always vast and clear. The Dharma teaches that happiness does not come from changing all circumstances, but from changing how we see and respond to them. Many spend their whole lives chasing something they believe will bring peace, only to find, once they attain it, that little has changed. That is because such joy depends on external conditions, fragile and easily lost. In contrast, the peace spoken of in the Dharma depends on nothing outside. It is like the moon, whether hidden by clouds or covered by rain, it remains full. The only question is whether we turn inward to see it. Look at a typical day. In the morning, you rush to care for your children, then plunge into work with meetings, messages, emails. In the afternoon, you are pulled into stress and small conflicts at the office. By night, your body is exhausted, but your mind refuses to rest, spinning with endless thoughts. Though you lie in bed, you are not truly at rest. This not only drains your strength, but erodes your joy in life. The Dharma sees the root clearly. The mind is constantly pulled outward, and we forget the capacity to return to ourselves. Zen reminds us that each present moment can be a doorway back to peace. If you pause for just a few minutes, breathe deeply, and clearly recognize that you are here, not lost in the past, not rushing into the future, you will feel an unexpected lightness. It is not because the problems vanish, but because you step away from the stream of thoughts that make them heavier. When the mind is calm, wisdom shines, and you know how to face situations without being swept into emotional storms. A simple example: when someone says something that irritates you, the usual reaction is to get angry, to retaliate. But if at that moment you notice your breath and feel the heat rising, you gain a chance to pause. That pause, though brief, is enough to choose a different response, silence, or even a smile. You realize you need not let anger control you. This is Zen practice in daily life, not just sitting for hours in silence, but living mindfully in each situation. Tonight, as you listen to Zen stories and teachings, see it as a homecoming, returning to your breath, to yourself, to the sky of the mind that is already clear. Don't worry too much about grasping every deep meaning. Sometimes just one sentence, one image, or one quiet moment is enough to plant a seed of peace within you. And like any seed, it will sprout when the conditions are right. Your task is simply to nurture it each day. So relax your shoulders, put down the unresolved worries, and let the sutras, the stories, and the temple bell lead you into gentle sleep. Who knows, when you awaken tomorrow, the sky of your mind may hold fewer clouds, and in that open space, the peaceful moon will shine again. As the night grows quieter, let your mind continue to follow the gentle teachings of Zen. There is another story often told on such evenings. A young man once came to a renowned Zen master and asked, "Master, I have studied many scriptures, listened to many Dharma talks, but my mind is still restless. What should I do?" The master simply smiled, poured a cup of tea, and kept pouring until it overflowed. Alarmed, the young man exclaimed, "Master, the cup is full, you can't pour more." The master nodded. "Your mind is like this cup. It is already full of worries, judgments, and knowledge you have not digested. Unless you empty some, no matter how much teaching is added, it will just spill over and never sink in." This story may sound simple, but it is the key to peace. In modern life, we constantly take in information from social media, news, books, but rarely pause to filter and quiet down. The mind becomes crowded, always busy, even when we do nothing. In such a state, even wise words cannot enter. They slide off like raindrops on a lotus leaf. The Dharma reminds us that to calm the mind, we must first make space. Just as to pour new tea, we must first empty the old, cooled tea. In daily life, emptying may mean taking time without a phone, without news, just sitting and breathing. It may mean letting go of an unnecessary worry, a pointless argument, or a habit that burdens the heart. Many think letting go is loss, but it is freedom. You lose nothing. You only release what hides the peace already present. Observe yourself in anger. In anger, we are like someone holding a burning coal, ready to throw it at another. But before throwing, the coal has already burned our hand. So it is with hatred. It scorches us first. The Buddha once taught, "No one can harm you more than your own anger." Understanding this, you see that the reason to let go of anger is not only for others but for yourself. Yet letting go is not suppression. Suppression is like holding down the lid of a boiling pot. Sooner or later, it will erupt more violently. Letting go means looking directly at the emotion, recognizing its presence but not identifying with it. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you can silently note, "There is anger here." In that moment, you stand as the observer, no longer swept away. This is a vital step in meditation practice, helping you keep awareness even amidst turmoil. Zen does not teach us to run away from emotions, but to recognize and transform them. Emotions are like passing clouds, sometimes thick and heavy, sometimes light and thin, but never the sky itself. If you are patient enough to watch, the clouds will dissolve and the sky will still be there. Your mind is the same. With time and awareness, negative emotions pass, leaving open space for peace to shine. In the modern world, many people turn to meditation as a method for relaxation or stress relief. That is good, but if you stop there, you only touch the surface. Meditation goes deeper. It is a way of mindful living, of knowing what you are doing, thinking, and feeling. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you listen, just listen. It sounds simple, but try eating a meal once without holding your phone, without thinking of anything else, and you will find the food more flavorful. Similarly, when you converse without preparing a reply in advance, you will hear much more from the other person. Tonight, as you continue to listen to Zen stories and teachings, let your mind be like an empty teacup, ready to receive. Each story, each teaching is like a drop of fragrant tea, and all you need is to let it flow in and spread. You do not need to understand everything at once because the seeds of wisdom will rest in your heart, waiting to sprout. You only need to nurture them through daily practice, a little mindfulness, a little letting go, a little kindness, and gradually you will see the sky of your mind become clearer and brighter. When the mind begins to calm, Zen stories appear not only as teachings, but also as mirrors reflecting ourselves. One famous story tells of a general who came to a Zen master and asked, "Is it true that heaven and hell exist?" The Zen master replied, "You are nothing but a rude, ignorant man. How could you understand such things?" Enraged, the general's face turned red, and he reached for his sword. The master calmly said, "There, hell is opening." The general froze, then lowered his sword. The master smiled, and there, heaven just opened. In that instant, the general realized heaven and hell were not far away, but within his own mind. This story helps us see that emotions are the gateways to suffering or happiness. When anger rises, the mind feels as if it has fallen into the burning fires of hell. But when we let go and forgive, the mind immediately becomes light, as if stepping into a cool heaven. This is not some distant theory, but a truth anyone can experience. Just one gentle word, one wholesome thought, can change the entire sky of the mind. In modern life, we are constantly thrown into situations where emotions easily flare up. A careless word from a colleague, a negative comment on social media, or even a traffic jam during rush hour. Each can become fuel for anger. Without mindfulness, we react instantly and regret afterward. But with just a pause, we see we have the power to choose our response. That choice determines whether we step into hell or heaven in that very moment. Zen teaches that the pause is the key. Before speaking or acting, if you pause for just one breath to observe the rising emotion, you gain the chance to choose. This is not weakness, but the strength of self-mastery. Victory over oneself is far greater than victory over others. The Buddha once said, "Conquering oneself is better than conquering thousands in battle." Such victory is true and enduring glory. Now, try this practice in small things. When someone irritates you, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath and ask, "Will this anger do me any good?" Most often the answer is no. In that moment, you will see that letting go of anger is the wiser choice. With practice, you will realize that peace does not come from changing others, but from changing how you see and respond to them. In meditation, there is a practice called observing the mind like drifting clouds. You sit quietly, focus on your breath, and when an emotion arises, sadness, anger, or worry, you simply acknowledge, "Ah, there is a cloud of sadness," or "Ah, there is a cloud of anger." No need to chase it away, no need to hold on, just let it drift by. This practice helps us avoid identifying with emotions, and gradually negative feelings lose their power to control us. Zen stories also remind us to live truly in the present. When we are in the present, we are not bound by the past, nor anxious about the future. The past is gone, the future has not yet come. Only this moment is real. Yet most of us abandon the present, letting the mind wander from place to place. It is like sitting on a train, but instead of admiring the scenery outside, we keep worrying about the destination or regretting the departure point, and so we miss all the beauty passing by. A Zen master once said, "If you know how to treasure the present moment, you need not seek heaven elsewhere." This reminds us that happiness is not a destination, but the way we walk the path. Each mindful step is already part of heaven. So tonight, as you listen to these stories, practice right away. Breathe deeply, relax your body, and feel each sound, each word flowing into your heart. Do not rush to analyze or judge. Just listen as you would to a stream flowing, without resistance, without expectation. In that stillness, you will find your heart lighter and realize that heaven or hell exists only in a single thought of the mind. And tonight, as the lights grow dim and the world quiets down, let your soul slow just enough to hear an old Zen story. An aged master lived on a mountain. One day, a disciple came and asked, "Master, I have practiced for many years, keeping precepts, reciting, meditating, yet my heart is still restless, quick to anger, full of worries. How can I find peace?" The Zen master smiled and led him to a lake. The surface was calm as a mirror. "Look," he said, "when the water is muddy, you see nothing but dirt. But if you leave it alone, the mud settles and the water clears again. Your mind is the same. If you keep stirring it with fear and anger, it will always be murky. But if you learn to let go, to stay still, clarity will naturally appear." The disciple stood silently, realizing he did not need to seek peace outside, but to let his mind settle like the lake. That story shows a truth. Most of our suffering does not come from circumstances, but from how we react to them. A word from another, if received with calm, causes no wound. But if we cling to it, analyze it, and judge it, it becomes a rock we press upon our own chest. It sounds simple, but practice is not easy, for the mind is used to its habits. That is why the Dharma reminds us to train daily, as one trains a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger your inner stability becomes. In today's life, our minds are constantly disturbed. Work, phones, social media, relationships, all are like pebbles thrown into the lake of the mind, keeping the surface never still. If we do not deliberately make time for quiet, we will gradually forget what real peace feels like. One early morning, turning off your phone, sitting quietly with a cup of tea, hearing only the birdsong, that is a simple way to let the mud in your heart begin to settle. Zen teaches us that every breath is an opportunity to renew the mind. Breathing in, we know we are breathing in. Breathing out, we know we are breathing out. It sounds simple, but in doing so, we bring the mind back to the present, not drifting into the past or the future. The more we practice, the longer the mind stays calm, and we begin to realize that even ordinary moments can be filled with happiness. There is another story about a man who came to a Zen master, asking how to stop negative thoughts. The master handed him a cup and poured water until it was full, and then kept pouring until it overflowed. The man quickly said, "Master, it's full already." The master smiled. "Your mind is the same, already full of worries and anger. How can there be space for peace? Before adding something new, you must first pour some out." From that day, the man understood that what he needed first was not to add, but to release what was unnecessary. In Buddhism, letting go does not mean neglect or indifference, but knowing what to keep and what to release. A man swimming across a river will never reach the shore if he insists on clutching a rock. Our lives are the same. The more anger and attachments we cling to, the harder it is to move lightly. Once you begin to let go, you will find that the things that once troubled you become small. A harsh word, a disapproving look, none of them weigh as heavily as before. That is when you are opening space in your heart. This space not only brings ease, but also nurtures wisdom. Letting go does not happen in a day. It is like untying knots, slow and patient. Each day we need only release a little. Let go of one argument, one comparison, one urge to prove ourselves right, and the mind will already be lighter. If you want to begin tonight, try a simple practice. Before sleeping, recall one thing that upset you today and ask yourself, will this still matter tomorrow? If the answer is no, smile and let it go. With continuous practice, you will find yourself sleeping more deeply, waking more refreshed, and most importantly, with a more open heart. In a world full of turbulence, keeping the mind calm is like keeping a lamp lit in strong winds. No one else can do it for you. But once you succeed, the light not only illuminates yourself, but also those around you. One afternoon, a young man came to a renowned Zen master, his face tense and weary. As soon as he sat down, he said, "Master, life feels overwhelming. Everything happens too fast. Everyone demands, everyone expects." I try my best, but failure is unavoidable. Sometimes I feel helpless, as if I'm being swept away by the current of life with nothing to hold on to. The Zen master quietly looked at him, not rushing to answer. He poured a cup of tea and offered it. When the cup was empty, the master filled it again, and then kept pouring until the tea spilled over the table. The young man exclaimed, "Hey, master, it's full. Why keep pouring?" The master smiled. "Your mind is the same. When it is full of worries, fears, and anger, how can there be room for peace and wisdom? Before learning something new, you must empty the old." That sentence rang like a bell in the young man's mind. He suddenly realized that all this time, he had only been trying to add to his life. More knowledge, more skills, more achievements, but never subtracted the unnecessary. And it was precisely those excesses that had weighed down his heart. In modern life, we easily fall into the trap of too much. Too much information, too many goals, too many worries. Every morning, before even smiling at a new day, we rush to open our phones, swept into a flood of news, messages, and tasks. The mind is like a cup always full, with no space left for peace to enter. The Dharma teaches that to have wisdom, the mind must first be still. To be still, we must first let go. Letting go does not mean giving up responsibilities or dreams, but releasing the useless, the clinging that causes suffering. A person may do many things, but does not bind their heart to the results. In that way, whether success or failure comes, the mind remains serene. There is a Zen story about a samurai who came to a master to ask about heaven and hell. The master looked at him and said, "You are nothing but a coarse, violent man. How could you understand such profound things?" Hearing this, the samurai grew furious and drew his sword. The master calmly said, "That is hell." Shocked, the samurai lowered his sword. The master smiled, "And this is heaven." Through this story, we see that heaven and hell are not far away, but right within the mind. When filled with anger, we are in hell. When filled with compassion and understanding, we are in heaven. And to move from hell to heaven requires only a single moment of mindfulness. Letting go of negative emotions is not just theory, but a skill that must be trained. Imagine your mind as a room. If it is cluttered with trash, jealousy, hatred, disappointment, the room will stink and no one will want to stay. But if each day you clear out a little, open the window for light and fresh air, the room becomes livable. In meditation, there is the practice of mindfulness, knowing clearly what you are doing, thinking, and feeling in the present moment. With mindfulness, you will notice anger arising instead of letting it explode and sweep you away. Mindfulness is like a lamp shining in a dark room. Only with light can you see what is present and decide what to keep and what to let go. Many people think letting go is weakness, but in truth, it requires great inner strength. It is like holding tightly onto a rope that cuts into your hands. Letting go means you stop clinging, even if it feels unsettling at first. But it is in that very moment that you are truly freed. Letting go applies not only to negative emotions, but also to self-doubt, comparison, and unhealthy desires. A person who constantly compares themselves to others will forever live in dissatisfaction. When comparison ends, we begin to see our true worth. And when we appreciate ourselves, jealousy toward others fades away. Begin with small steps. When someone says something unpleasant, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath and remind yourself, "I don't need to accept this gift." When stuck in traffic, instead of fuming, see it as an opportunity to listen to a piece of music or observe the surroundings. These small changes over time accumulate into great serenity. Finally, remember that the path of practice is not a race. No one demands that you achieve a state of perfection. Every small step toward peace is already a success. And each day, if you simply spend a few minutes sitting quietly, breathing slowly and observing your mind, you are already nurturing the seed of serenity within. One early morning, when the hills were still blanketed in mist, a middle-aged merchant came to a small temple on the mountainside. He was a successful businessman, familiar with long journeys, negotiations, and lavish banquets. Yet his eyes that day revealed weariness, as if drained by something invisible. When he met the abbot, he bowed and said, "Master, I have everything, wealth, houses, reputation, but strangely, I still feel empty inside. Each day I wake up asking myself, what is the purpose of all this? The more I earn, the more restless I feel. It seems I am chasing something I don't even understand." The Zen master smiled gently, pointing to the stream near the temple. He said, "Go there, fetch me a scoop of water, but do not let a single drop spill on the way back." The merchant obeyed, carefully filled a ladle, and slowly walked up the stone steps. When he returned, the master asked, "What was your mind focused on while carrying the water?" He replied, "I only concentrated on not spilling it." The master nodded. "That is how you should live. When you know clearly what you are holding, your mind will not be scattered by unnecessary things." The story seemed simple, yet it embodied a core teaching of the Dharma. Mindfulness keeps the mind from falling into endless temptations and afflictions. The merchant realized he had been living as though carrying too many things at once: wealth, fame, relationships, without truly knowing what he was holding. The result was constant tension and unease. We are the same. In the modern rush, we often chase after society's goals and forget to ask, what truly matters to me? When the mind lacks direction, it is pulled by whatever happens around us. A sensational headline, a word of praise or criticism, or a new trend. And when dragged like this, we lose our inner stability. The Buddha taught that all suffering arises when the mind does not dwell peacefully. When the mind clings to the past, we live in regret. When it races to the future, we live in anxiety. Only when it rests in the present do we truly live and feel happiness. But dwelling in the present does not mean resignation. It means awareness of every action, every emotion arising. A young monk once asked the master, "Master, how can I maintain mindfulness when I have so many tasks each day?" The master simply smiled. "Do you drink tea?" The young monk replied, "Yes, master." The teacher continued, "When drinking tea, only know you are drinking tea. When walking, only know you are walking. Don't drink tea while worrying about work or walk while brooding about yesterday." Hearing this, the young monk understood that mindfulness is not a separate activity, but being fully present in whatever we do. If applied in daily life, every moment becomes an opportunity for practice. When washing dishes, feel the warmth of the water, the smoothness of the bowl. When hearing the morning birds, do not rush to grab your phone to take a picture, but simply listen and smile. These moments nourish the heart, like drops of water soaking into dry soil. The merchant stayed at the temple for several days. He walked through bamboo groves, sat by the stream, and joined the monks in chanting each morning. He realized that happiness does not come from adding more, but from knowing enough. In those days, he stopped worrying about calls, contracts, or profit margins. He simply lived as a human being, breathing and smiling. When he left, he told the master, "I understand now, master. What I have been searching for all along was never outside, but within my own mind." The master replied, "You have found the key, but remember, keeping that peace is the hardest part. You must practice every day, for this world is full of winds trying to extinguish your inner lamp." The lesson of this story is a reminder for all of us. Wherever we are, whatever we do, keep a space of stillness for yourself. You don't need to climb mountains or enter temples. Just a few minutes each day to breathe deeply and release unnecessary thoughts. When the mind is refreshed, wisdom and compassion naturally arise. For the Dharma is not only for those in monastic robes. It is a path for everyone in all circumstances. You can practice in the market, in the office, or in your own kitchen. Every time your mind returns to the present, you are walking on the path of awakening. And when you keep the lamp of mindfulness burning, the darkness of ignorance has no place to stay. One late summer afternoon, when the sun had softened and the mountain breeze carried cool air, a young man came to the temple to meet the abbot. His face showed irritation, his brows furrowed. As soon as he sat down, he blurted, "Master, I don't understand why people around me make me so angry. I try to be patient, but just one unpleasant word makes me explode. Sometimes I know I shouldn't react, but I can't control myself." The master looked at him for a while, then led him to the backyard. There was a large bin filled with dry firewood. The master gave him a sack and said, "Each time you get angry at someone, take a piece of wood, write their name on it, and put it into the sack. When you want to let go of your anger, return here." The young man agreed, thinking it was just a small exercise. A few weeks later, he returned with the sack heavy and full. His forehead was sweating, though the day was cool. The master asked, "How do you feel?" He replied, "Very tired, master. This sack is heavy, and carrying it everywhere is burdensome." The master smiled. "That is the weight of your anger. You carry it with you each day, and that is why your mind feels so exhausted. Now, put down the sack and never pick it up again." The young man realized that each time he grew angry, he had added another piece of wood to his burden. Every harsh word, every unfriendly glance, every criticism had become a log he carried. Over time, the sack grew heavy, making his steps sluggish. This story vividly illustrates the Buddha's teaching. Anger harms no one as much as the one who holds it. Anger is like fire. When it burns, it first destroys joy and clarity. If we nurture it, it smolders on, heating the heart, robbing us of sleep and peace. In modern life, many people are like that young man. We often carry with us too many logs of anger. Issues at work, job pressure, family conflicts, even small arguments on social media. Each time we recall them, negative emotions flare up again, leaving us exhausted. The Dharma does not teach us to suppress emotions, but to recognize and transform them. When angry, simply acknowledge, "I am angry." Just by naming the emotion, you create a distance so it does not control you. Then breathe deeply, bringing your mind back to the present. Inhaling, know you are inhaling. Exhaling, know you are exhaling. Anger is like a sudden rain shower. It will pass if you do not add fuel to the fire. There is a method Zen masters often teach to dissolve anger called compassion meditation. When someone hurts you, imagine that they too are suffering in some way. Perhaps they have just experienced a loss, or they are under heavy pressure. When you understand the deeper cause, your heart softens. Just as when you see someone struggling in the water, you do not get angry because they splashed your clothes. You try to pull them to shore. Once, someone asked a Zen master, "Master, if I keep enduring, won't others take advantage of me?" The master replied, "Patience does not mean silent suffering, but acting with wisdom instead of impulsive emotion. When your mind is calm, you will know when to speak, when to stay silent, and how to speak so as not to create more suffering." This is the essence. Patience is not weakness, but the strength of self-mastery. As you practice letting go of anger, you will feel lighter each day. The sack of firewood will gradually grow lighter, and your steps will be freer. Instead of reacting immediately, you learn to pause, observe, and then decide. That one pause can change the outcome of an entire situation. The young man in the story eventually learned to put down some of his logs. Each time he became angry, he asked himself, "Do I want to carry this log with me all day?" If the answer was no, he would take a deep breath, smile, and let it drop. Gradually, he felt lighter, slept better, and even his relationships became less tense. In life, we cannot avoid encountering people or situations that irritate us, but we can choose how to respond. Choosing to hold on to anger is choosing to carry a burden. Choosing to let go is choosing freedom, and that freedom can only be given to us by ourselves. One early morning in the courtyard of a small temple nestled at the foot of the mountain, a novice monk was sweeping the yard. The soft sound of the bamboo broom brushing the bricks blended with birdsong from the Bodhi tree. The abbot stood on the temple veranda, watching for a while, before calling the novice over. "Do you know what you are sweeping?" the master asked. The novice smiled. "Master, I am sweeping fallen leaves." The master shook his head. "No, you are sweeping your mind." The novice was surprised. "Why sweeping the mind?" The master pointed to the courtyard. "Fallen leaves are natural, just like the countless thoughts and emotions in your mind. Some are pleasant, some unpleasant, joy and sorrow alike. Sweeping the leaves is not to keep the yard clean forever, but so that each morning you begin with a clear space. Likewise, sweeping the mind is not to prevent negative thoughts from ever arising, but to practice clearing them each day so they do not pile up." Hearing this, the novice bowed his head, feeling a lightness within. He understood that he did not need to be perfect or to keep his mind calm forever. He only needed to patiently clear it each day. This seemingly simple story carries a profound lesson for us all. In modern life, our minds are like a courtyard full of fallen leaves. Work, financial stress, negative news, personal conflicts, all can fall into our minds each day. If we do not sweep regularly, they accumulate, making us heavy and restless. Sweeping the mind in the Dharma can mean meditation, mindfulness, or simply taking time each day to pause. When you sit quietly, follow your breath, and recognize the emotions present, that is when you are holding the broom. There is no need to forcefully push emotions away. Just observe, smile, and let them pass. Many people think they are too busy for meditation or mindfulness, but sweeping the mind does not require hours of sitting. Washing dishes in mindfulness, walking in mindfulness, even drinking a cup of tea fully aware of its fragrance and warmth. Each of these is a way of sweeping. A Zen master once said, "No one bathes once and stays clean forever, just as no one sweeps once and the yard stays clean forever. The mind is the same. It must be cared for daily." This reminds us that practice is a process, not a final goal. Someone asked, "If I sweep the mind today, but tomorrow it is full of leaves again, then what?" The Zen master smiled. "Then sweep again. That is life. Each new day is a chance to clear your mind once more." In a stressful work environment, if you pause for just a few minutes to sweep the mind, you can avoid impulsive reactions. Before replying to a harsh email, breathe deeply and reread it when calmer. Before responding to hurtful words, choose silence and observe your feelings. Each such moment removes another fallen leaf from your heart. What is precious is that when the mind is clear, life looks brighter. The same situation with a clear mind feels lighter. A criticism becomes a chance to learn. A failure becomes a valuable lesson. A clear mind is like a mirror free of dust. It reflects everything clearly, but retains nothing. That novice monk, thanks to his master's teaching, kept sweeping the courtyard every morning. But he understood the true importance was not the clean yard, but the mind refreshed daily. And when his mind was clear, he smiled more, spoke more gently, and his eyes softened. Everyone in the temple noticed the change. Within each of us is also a yard to sweep. With patience, a little each day, we will find our burdens grow lighter. A mind that is cleared daily will always be spacious enough to welcome joy, peace, and even life's new challenges. That afternoon, the sky glowed with soft, golden light, sunlight filtering through the Bodhi leaves, casting shadows on the brick courtyard. A middle-aged layman came to the temple, his face lined with worry. He sought the abbot and sighed, "Master, I feel so tired. Even though I try to do good and help others, I still often meet with disappointment. At times I feel it is unfair and I grow very angry." The Zen master looked at him for a while and then invited him into the meditation hall. After pouring tea, the master slowly said, "Do you see that lake over there? When the wind rises, the water ripples and can no longer reflect the clear blue sky. Your mind is the same. When it is stirred by emotions, you will no longer see the truth clearly." The layman sat in silence, gazing at the lake. Indeed, though the sky remained blue when the waves appeared, the reflection became distorted. The master continued, "You said you do good deeds but still encounter injustice. When you do good, do you hope to receive something in return? Do you hope for gratitude, respect, or at least that others will not harm you?" The layman nodded. The master smiled. "That very expectation is the seed of your suffering. When expectations are not met, anger and resentment arise in your mind. Doing good is not about receiving results, but about keeping your heart at peace. When we give without expecting anything back, then no matter how others respond, our mind remains calm." Those words left the layman stunned. He realized that all along he had been secretly placing expectations on his actions, and when those expectations were broken, anger would surge. The Zen master told another story. Long ago, there was a man who grew mangoes. Each season when the fruit ripened, he would bring them to the market to sell. Some years the mangoes were good and fetched a high price, and he was happy. Other years they were worm-eaten, and he was sad. One day, a monk passing by heard him complaining and said, "If you grow mangoes only for the sweet fruit, then you will suffer whenever there is a bad harvest. But if you grow them for the joy of caring and tending, then whether there is fruit or not, your heart will still be at peace." Hearing this, the layman felt a great burden lift. He understood that the anger and sense of injustice he felt did not come from circumstances, but from his own unrelenting expectations. In modern life, many people fall into this cycle. We help colleagues but expect them to help us in return. We treat friends well but feel hurt when they do not respond as we wish. We give our children our love but grow angry when they disobey. All of these expectations easily become seeds of resentment. The Buddha taught that if we want peace of mind, we must do good without expecting repayment. Like the lotus that gives off its fragrance, it does not smell sweeter when praised, nor weaker when criticized. When we learn to do good simply because it is good, our minds will be free from praise and blame, gain and loss. The Zen master took a sip of tea and continued, "Do you know why practitioners are less prone to anger? It is not because they face no adversity, but because they observe their minds the moment an emotion arises. Anger is like a spark. If you notice it in time and add no more wood, it will fade. But if you pile on more fuel through negative thoughts, replaying stories, or blaming, the flame will burst forth and burn away your peace." The layman nodded, feeling as though the master's words illuminated his mind. He suddenly remembered how many times he had caused his own suffering by holding on to anger too long. The master gave him a simple practice. When you feel anger rising, pause, take 3 deep breaths, and ask yourself, "Is this worth losing my peace over?" If the answer is no, then exhale slowly and let it go. You may not succeed immediately, but each time you practice, anger will lose some of its power. This was not only advice for the layman, but a lesson for all of us. In the fast pace of life, negative emotions easily take over, but with just a small pause, a mindful breath, we can protect our inner stillness. That day, the layman left the temple with a lighter heart. He knew that he would still face injustice and misunderstanding, but now he had the key to open the door to peace in his own mind. The story reminds us that anger not only hurts others, but first and foremost burns ourselves. When we let go of expectations and observe our emotions, life becomes less heavy. Like a calm lake with no ripples, when the mind is at peace, the world also appears peaceful. The next morning, the temple bell echoed through the thin mist. In the courtyard, novices swept fallen leaves, each stroke steady and slow in rhythm with the breath of dawn. A stranger from afar arrived, hurried and visibly irritated. As soon as he stepped into the meditation hall, he burst out, "Master, I suffer so much. I am angry because injustice keeps happening again and again. I try to endure, but the more I endure, the more suffocated I feel. What should I do?" The Zen master looked at him and smiled gently. "Sit down first. Drink a cup of tea to settle your heart." The visitor, though reluctant, obeyed. When the tea was poured, the master unexpectedly kept pouring until the cup overflowed and spilled onto the floor. The visitor was startled. "Master, what are you doing? The cup is already full." The master smiled. "Your mind is just like this cup. When it is already filled with anger and resentment, then no matter how much wisdom or peace is poured in, it will overflow and be wasted. To receive peace, you must first let go of what is occupying your mind." The visitor fell silent, his eyes softening slightly. The master continued, "Enduring anger does not mean suppressing it. Suppression only makes it smolder like a pot of boiling water. With the lid forced down, sooner or later it will spill over. Controlling anger means recognizing it as soon as it arises, understanding its cause, and then letting it dissolve naturally." Then the master told him an old story. A fierce warrior once came to a Zen master and asked, "Can you show me the way to heaven and hell?" The master looked him up and down and sneered, "You are nothing but a stupid thug. How could you understand such things?" Enraged, the warrior drew his sword to strike. The master remained calm. "There, the gate of hell is opening." The warrior froze, realizing he had let anger control him. He lowered his sword. The master smiled. "And now the gate of heaven is opening." The visitor bowed his head, realizing that his own reactions, not circumstances, determined his suffering. Whenever we grow angry, we step into hell in that very instant. In today's world, countless situations can drag us into that state. A tactless comment from a colleague, a negative remark online, or simply traffic in the rain. But as the Buddha taught, it is not events that cause our suffering, but how we see and respond to them. If we let emotions lead us, our mind will never rest. If we learn to pause and observe, our mind becomes free. The Zen master advised the visitor with a simple practice. Whenever you feel anger rising, imagine yourself as a drifting cloud. A cloud does not try to keep its shape nor resist the wind. It simply floats across the sky. Emotions are the same. Let them come and go without clinging or resisting. You will feel lighter. The guest asked, "But Master, what if someone does something wrong? Shouldn't we react so they know they are wrong?" The master nodded. Reacting and getting angry are two different things. You can give advice, you can express your viewpoint, but you don't need to carry the fire of anger. Words spoken from a calm heart will reach others more easily than words spoken from a heated mind. Clear water reflects, a clean mirror shows things as they are. When the mind is still, words are bright. These words reminded the guest of many past arguments. When angry, even if his reasoning was right, others still would not listen, simply because his voice and eyes were filled with aggression. He realized that to change others, he must first change himself. The Zen master poured more tea, its gentle fragrance spreading. He said, "Anger is fire. If you use fire to correct others, you will burn down the bridge that connects you to them. But if you use the light of wisdom, you will guide them without harming anyone." Outside, the temple bell sounded again, each deep tone like a reminder that every breath is an opportunity to begin anew. The guest stood up, bowed to the master. He felt lighter, as if a burden of many years had been lifted from his chest. On the way home, he thought, "I cannot control how others treat me, but I can fully choose how I respond." That thought felt like a promise to himself, that he would practice living more peacefully, not letting anger decide his happiness. His story is also the story of many of us. Amid the bustle, conflicts, and challenges of life, anger is difficult to avoid. But if we learn to look deeply, to understand and let go, we will no longer be controlled by it. Then we truly step through the door of heaven, where when the mind is at peace, the world is also at peace. You have just listened to profound teachings that help calm the mind and ease sorrow. If you feel these moments brought you peace, please like the video, subscribe to the Dharma in Motion channel, and share it with those around you. You will be contributing to the spreading of the Dharma, so that each day we come closer to peace and wisdom. That afternoon, in the temple courtyard, the wind blew gently, the bamboo leaves rustling like whispers of time. A group of lay practitioners from the city came to visit, bringing with them many questions about modern life and practice. A woman in her 40s with a kind face but weary eyes spoke first. "Master, I don't often get angry, but I often feel sad. The sadness clings to me, keeping me from sleep and making me overly sensitive. What should I do to escape this state?" The Zen master nodded, his gaze gentle. "Sadness, like anger, is a state of mind. When you hold on to it too long, it becomes a habit. Like a beaten path, each time something happens, your mind goes down that same road. To change, you must create new paths for your mind." Then he told a story about a young Zen monk. When he first ordained, he often felt sad, missing home, missing his mother, and feeling that no one understood him. One day, the abbot took him up the mountain. Halfway up, the abbot pointed to a muddy path trodden by people and animals. Then he pointed to a lush patch of grass untouched by footsteps. The abbot said, "If you want to leave the old path, you must step onto a new one, even if at first it is harder to walk. If you walk that new path each day, it will gradually become a trail, and then the old path will naturally be covered with grass." The woman nodded in understanding. The master continued, "So it is with our mind. Each time sadness arises, instead of sinking into it, practice doing something new. Recite a short sutra, take a mindful walk, or simply smile at someone. At first, it will be difficult, but if you persist, your mind will become accustomed to the new habit." A young man in the group then asked, "Master, I often feel stressed. Just a little pressure at work makes me lose my calm and snap at people around me. How can I keep my mind peaceful when pressure surrounds me?" The Zen master looked at him and answered with a simple example. "Do you see the surface of a lake on a calm day? The water is clear, reflecting the clouds. But if a pebble falls in, the surface ripples. If strong winds blow, waves arise. Your mind is like that lake. When under pressure, that is when wind and pebbles strike. If you react immediately, the waves will only grow. But if you remain still, pause for a few moments, the waves will settle on their own." He taught him a method. Whenever stressed, stop your work. Place your hand on your abdomen, inhale deeply, exhale slowly, repeat 3 times. That alone will calm your mind, and you will respond more wisely. Hearing this, an elderly man suddenly recalled a story from long ago. When I was young, I worked on a construction site. One time when a machine broke down, everyone shouted and blamed each other, but one old worker just sat quietly sharpening his tool. I asked why he wasn't helping to fix the machine. He just smiled. If the machine can't be fixed yet, then let's fix our minds first. With a calm mind, our hands will be steady for the work. When the machine was repaired, everyone realized that though he hadn't said much, he was the one who helped the group stay calm. The Zen master smiled. Exactly. When one person keeps a calm mind, they not only save themselves, but also save those around them from being dragged into the storm of emotions. In Buddhism, we call this benefiting self, benefiting others. The group of practitioners fell silent for a moment. The sound of the temple bell echoed from afar, each deep tone reminding them to return to their breath. The master continued, "We cannot avoid all the winds of life, but if our mind is firm like a mountain, no wind, however strong, can shake it. And to be as firm as a mountain, we must train in the smallest things, how we drink a sip of water, how we take a step, or how we speak a gentle word." A young novice came running, holding a newly bloomed lotus flower. The master received it, admired it, and showed it to everyone. The lotus does not bloom in haste. It sprouts in the mud, absorbs water and light, and waits for the right conditions to open. The human mind is the same. To find peace, it needs time and training. Do not rush. Each day a little more and you will see yourself transformed. The listeners all felt lighter. They understood that practice is not something distant, but small changes in every moment. And as these small changes accumulate, the mind naturally becomes more stable amid life's storms. That evening, after chanting, the temple courtyard was bathed in soft moonlight. A few lay practitioners stayed to converse with the Zen master on the veranda, sipping hot tea. The quiet atmosphere cleansed their hearts. A young woman, intellectual in demeanor, spoke up. "Master, I have practiced for a long time, but whenever someone does something against my wishes, I still judge them. I think I am not angry, but inside I feel uneasy. So is my mind truly at peace?" The Zen master smiled gently. Judgment is also a subtle form of anger. It is not as loud as rage, but it quietly burdens the mind. A practitioner must recognize even the smallest seeds of anger, because if they are not removed early, they will grow. Then he told a story about a young monk in the temple. This monk was known for his diligence and strict observance of the precepts. One day, he saw a novice eating before noon. He frowned and thought, "This novice is not disciplined." The abbot heard of it and asked, "You saw the novice do something wrong, but in your heart, did compassion arise or only criticism?" The young monk suddenly awakened. He realized that even if he kept the precepts well, if his mind gave rise to judgment instead of compassion, he had not truly found peace. The Zen master turned to the group. A practitioner must not only observe precepts of body and speech, but also of mind. When we look at others with eyes of understanding and love, then even if they make mistakes, we will not lose our peace. But if we only see others' faults, we ourselves are planting seeds of anger. An elderly man interjected, "But Master, it is very difficult in daily life. If I don't judge or react strongly, won't others think I'm weak and easy to take advantage of?" The master slowly replied, "Compassion is not weakness, it is strength. The weak are those led by emotions. The strong are those who know what should be said, what should be done, and do it with a mind free of anger. When you keep your mind peaceful, your words carry more weight than any outburst of rage." The master continued with another story about an old monk and a thief. One day, a thief broke into the temple demanding all the valuables. The monk calmly pointed to the cupboard and said, take whatever you want." Surprised, the thief asked, "Aren't you afraid?" The old monk replied, "Why should I be afraid? You can only take what is outside my body. You cannot take the peace within my mind." Hearing this, the thief suddenly bowed, tears in his eyes, and left the valuables behind. The master looked at the group and said, "When the mind is truly at peace, we do not need to appear strong. Others will feel it." A young lay practitioner who worked in business laughed and said, "Hearing this, I realize I've been using negative energy to solve problems. I thought shouting showed authority, but it only created more tension for myself and others." The master nodded. "A true leader is one who keeps the mind like water amid storms. Water is soft, but it can wear down stone." The moon had risen high. The sound of insects blended with the gentle breeze carrying the fragrance of jasmine. The Zen master poured more tea and said slowly, "Practice is a journey of recognizing oneself. Not only recognizing when we are angry, but also when we smile, when we speak, when we think. Every moment is an opportunity to choose between love and anger." An elderly woman who had been silent all evening finally spoke. "Master, I am old. My health is weak. My memory is fading, yet I still cling to past events, especially those I feel were unjust. I know it is not good, but I cannot let go." "See," the master gently replied, "clinging to the past is like holding a hot coal in your hand. Even if you intend to throw it at someone, you are the one burned first. To let go, begin by returning to the present, this breath, this breeze, this moonlight. When you dwell fully in the present, the past will gradually lose its grip." The group sat quietly, each absorbed in their own reflections. Some remembered times they had judged others. Some saw their unnecessary worries. Some simply breathed deeply, feeling the warmth of the tea in their hands. The Zen master concluded, "Peace does not come from changing everyone around us, but from changing the way we see and respond ourselves. When our mind is clear, the world naturally seems less dark." The next morning, the first rays of sunlight filtered through the Bodhi leaves. The temple bell echoed in the distance, reminding everyone to return to themselves. The lay practitioners gathered again under the veranda, feeling lighter after the previous night's talk. A novice hurriedly came and said, "Master, this morning I saw some rice missing in the kitchen. I suspect the beggar from last night came back to steal it." The Zen master did not scold, but simply asked, "Did you see it with your own eyes?" The novice shook his head. The master smiled. "Then don't rush to conclude. Practitioners must learn to look deeply, not just rely on assumptions." Then he told a story of an old Zen master. One day something was stolen from the temple, and everyone immediately suspected a new novice. They all wanted to expel him, but the Zen master simply said, "If you did it, I forgive you. If you did not, I trust you." Hearing this, the novice burst into tears, confessed, and repented. Later, he became a virtuous monk. The master looked at everyone and said, "When we judge without knowing the truth, we sow more suspicion and suffering. Sometimes trust and compassion are the very medicine that helps others transform." A young laywoman asked, "But Master, if we always trust and forgive, won't people take advantage of us?" The master replied, "Forgiveness does not mean overlooking everything. Forgiveness means not holding hatred in your heart. You can still set boundaries to protect yourself, but do it without anger. The wise always know how to balance compassion with wisdom." Then he led the group into another topic. In life, it is not only anger or judgment that makes us suffer, but also our habit of clinging to our own opinions. We often believe we are right, and when others think differently, we feel upset. But the truth is, our rightness is only based on limited experience and perspective. If we can listen and open our hearts, we will learn more than if we only defend our ego. The master told a story about a scholar who came to consult a Zen master. The scholar spoke endlessly about philosophy and scriptures while the Zen master silently poured tea into his cup, filling it and continuing until it overflowed. The scholar exclaimed, "Master, the cup is full, why keep pouring?" The Zen master replied, "Your mind is the same, already full of your own views. How can it receive anything new?" Hearing this, the scholar bowed his head in silence. The group of practitioners laughed but also nodded, recognizing themselves in the story. A manager shared, "I realize that many times at work, I argue to the end just to defend my point, not to find the best solution." The master smiled. When we put the common good above the ego, our words naturally become lighter, and others are more willing to listen. After that, he guided them in a short practice to loosen their grip on opinions. When someone says something you disagree with, don't react immediately. Take a deep breath, listen fully, then ask yourself, could this be partly true? If so, acknowledge that truth before offering your own view. This way, harmony is preserved and our vision is broadened. The sun had risen high and the fragrance of milk flowers drifted lightly into the temple veranda. The morning air made everyone feel refreshed. The Zen master slowly concluded the talk. A practitioner cannot always avoid the storms, but must know how to steer the boat of their own mind so as not to be drowned. Compassion and wisdom are the oars, and mindfulness is the compass. Whoever holds on to these three will always find the shore of peace. Everyone stood up to prepare for the chanting session, but still lingered. A woman whispered to her friend, "Every time I hear the master speak, I feel as if my heart has been washed clean of dust." Her friend nodded. "Yes, it's like drinking a clear cup of tea in the morning." That afternoon, the temple sky turned golden as the sun sank behind the bamboo grove. The evening bell rang slowly, each chime like a gentle knock on the heart. After chanting, an elderly layman approached the Zen master, bowed and said, "Master, I listened to your teaching this morning about letting go of attachment and I felt much lighter. But I still have one worry. Many times I know I shouldn't hold on to past things, but whenever I think about them, my heart aches again. What should I do?" The Zen master looked at him for a long while, then asked, "If you accidentally held a burning coal, knowing it was hot, would you drop it right away or keep it in your hand?" The man replied quickly, "Of course I would drop it immediately." The master nodded. "Exactly, but with the burning coals in your mind, painful memories, resentments, hurtful words, you keep holding them, letting them burn you day after day. Why not let them go?" The group fell silent. The master continued with a story about a monk and his disciple who once met a woman stuck in the mud, unable to cross a river. The monk carried her across, then continued on his way. Hours later, the disciple said, "Master, why did you carry that woman? Did you forget the precepts?" The monk smiled. "I put her down by the river long ago, but you are still carrying her on your shoulders." The master concluded, "Letting go is not merely forgetting, but no longer letting the mind be bound." A young woman then said softly, "But Master, it's so difficult. Many times I know I should let go, but my mind keeps returning to the same place." The master smiled. "Letting go is a process, not an instant act. It's like releasing a kite. You slowly loosen the string so it rises, not cut it all at once. Each day, when you nurture compassion and live mindfully, the ties will loosen on their own." After the story, the master guided the group in a simple practice. Whenever an old memory or emotion returns, don't resist. Take a deep breath, recognize it. "Ah, I am sad," or "I am angry." Then imagine the emotion as a passing cloud drifting across the sky of the mind. Don't cling to it. Don't chase it away. A young man shared, "I tried this while driving. When someone cut me off, instead of swearing, I just took a deep breath and said silently, 'I'm angry.' Then I exhaled. At that moment, the anger didn't flare up like before." The group laughed, but everyone felt the method was practical and easy to apply. As the afternoon faded, the breeze carried the scent of frangipani through the veranda. The master gazed into the distance and said, "We often think peace means having no sadness, no one to anger us. But true peace is when, even amidst those things, our mind is not swept away. It is like a deep lake. Though the wind may ripple the surface, the depths remain still." He told a short Zen story. A master asked his student, "How can you make muddy water clear again?" The student replied, "I will stir it evenly." The master shook his head. "No, you only need to leave it still, and the mud will settle on its own." In the same way, when our mind is stirred by emotions, we must let it be still through breathing and mindfulness. The teachings were simple, yet everyone felt their truth in each word. An elderly layman whispered, "Now I see that often I make myself suffer by constantly stirring up old matters." The master nodded. "The wise do not chase the past, nor dream of the future, but live deeply in the present. This very moment is where transformation is possible." When the sun had fully set, the temple courtyard sank into deep purple twilight. People slowly dispersed, carrying with them stories, lessons, and quiet spaces for reflection. And somewhere, in each person's heart, a burning coal had been set down. The next morning, as the sunlight was still soft like silk and birds chirped in the trees, a group of lay practitioners gathered again around the Zen master. It seemed everyone wanted to continue yesterday's talk about letting go and peace. A middle-aged man, weathered in appearance, slowly shared, "Master, I once lost sleep for months because of an insulting remark from an acquaintance. I kept replaying it, and the more I thought, the angrier I became. But yesterday, when you spoke of the burning coal, I suddenly realized all this time I had been clutching that coal while the person who angered me had long forgotten." The Zen master smiled and asked, "So today, are you still holding that coal?" The man replied slowly, "I'm practicing letting it go, but sometimes I still touch it." The master nodded. "That's all right. You are just beginning. Sometimes you will fall back. Sometimes you will move forward. What matters is that you know you are holding it and that you know how to release it." To help everyone understand more clearly, the master told another story about a young monk new to the temple. One day, while sweeping the courtyard, he overheard another novice speaking ill of him. At first, he ignored it, but later the words kept returning in his mind, making him upset. He went to complain to his teacher. The teacher smiled and said, "You have two choices. Hold on to those words and let them cause you suffering, or let them fall like a dry leaf. Once the leaf falls to the ground, the wind will carry it away and you lose nothing." From then on, the young monk practiced letting leaves fall and found himself much lighter. The master turned to the group and asked, "When someone insults you, what is the first thing you should do?" A young woman answered, "Take a deep breath and don't react immediately." The master nodded. "Correct. If you react right away, you may say or do something you'll regret. That pause is like a door, helping you keep the anger from spilling outward." He then shared 3 simple steps to restrain anger. 1. Recognize, name the emotion, "I am angry." 2. Mindful breathing. Bring attention to the breath so the mind is less swept away. 3. Observe the cause. Ask, "What is making me angry? Is it worth losing my peace?" An elderly practitioner raised his hand and said, "Sometimes the matter isn't worth it, yet it still makes me upset. Perhaps it's just habit." The master replied, "Exactly. Anger is often not only about the present situation, but also about frustrations accumulated from before. If we regularly care for our mind with mindfulness, it will gather less, and when things arise, we will find it easier to remain calm. The master shared another Zen story. A hot-tempered warrior once sought out a Zen master to learn how to control himself. He said, "Whenever someone displeases me, I immediately get angry. I want to give up this habit. Please teach me." The Zen master invited him to sit and asked, "Can you raise your hand?" The warrior did so. The master continued, "Now, can you lower it?" He nodded. The master smiled. "Anger is the same. It comes and goes at your will, if you are mindful enough to guide it. The problem is, all this time, you have let it control you." The group chuckled softly, but everyone felt the truth in it. The master reminded them, "No one forces us to hold on to anger, just as no one forces us to clutch a burning coal. As long as we remember, we always have the power to let go." The morning passed in serenity. Before closing, the master gave them an exercise. This week, if you encounter something that irritates you, pause for one breath, take a deep inhale, and only then respond. See what happens. As people left, sunlight bathed the courtyard in gold. Above, tender leaves swayed gently in the breeze, as if reminding everyone that all things can fall lightly, if only we let go. That afternoon, as the sun softened, the temple bell rang long and deep, drawing the listeners' minds back to the present. A group of lay practitioners gathered again in the meditation hall. They wanted to hear more about ways to control and transform negative emotions. A young woman, her eyes weary, sat in the front row. She said, "Master, I work in a high-pressure environment. Sometimes a single message from my boss can make me tense all day. I want to stay calm, but my mind just spins." The master nodded gently. When the mind is swept away by assumptions, judgments, and fears, it is like a small boat tossed in great waves. If you don't anchor, you will drift. That anchor is mindful breathing. The master told a story about a wealthy merchant who was always anxious about losing his possessions. Once he went to a Zen master and asked, "How can I stop fearing loss?" The master invited him to the lakeside, handed him a precious stone and said, "Throw it into the lake." Shocked, the merchant exclaimed, "But that is my treasure." The master patiently said, "If you throw it away, your fear of losing it will vanish instantly." The merchant understood. What tormented him was not the stone itself, but his attachment to it. The master turned back to the young woman. Negative emotions are the same. When you stop clinging to results or to fearful thoughts, they lose their power. This does not mean neglecting your work, but doing your best in awareness without letting fear bind the mind. An elder in the group asked, "But Master, sometimes I get angry at my closest loved ones because their words hurt me deeply. How do I restrain myself?" The master smiled. With strangers, we can stay composed, but with loved ones, we often let words slip out easily because the bond is deep, the wound is deep. At such times, instead of reacting immediately, remember these 3 questions. Is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary to say it now? Can I say it in a way the other person will understand without being hurt? The master told another Zen story. A man once complained to a Zen master that his wife constantly nagged him. Angry, he stormed out of the house and stayed away all day. After hearing him, the Zen master simply said, "You can choose one of 2 things. Either let her nagging become a fire that burns away your happiness, or treat it like the wind passing through the bamboo grove. It comes and goes, yet the bamboo remains green." The man fell silent for a long while, then bowed in gratitude. Another young man asked, "Master, I understand in theory, but when anger arises, I can't remember to apply these teachings." The master smiled kindly. "Then practice before it comes. Each day, spend a few minutes sitting quietly, following your breath, releasing all thoughts. By practicing like this, your mind will form the habit of pausing, so when anger comes, you will notice it sooner. The master guided the group through a short exercise. Sit upright, relax your shoulders, inhale deeply, exhale slowly. As you inhale, silently say, "I am breathing in. I know I am breathing in." As you exhale, silently say, "I am breathing out. I know I am breathing out." That's all. But it brings the mind back to the present. The hall fell into silence, filled only with steady breathing. After a few minutes, the master opened his eyes, his gaze sending calm to each person. Negative emotions are not enemies, they are signals. If we recognize them and care for them properly, they will dissolve on their own. Outside, the sunset spread its soft light through the trees, reminding all that no matter how harsh the day's sun, evening always brings coolness. Likewise, no matter how fierce anger may seem, if we step back and care for the mind, it too will settle, leaving behind a sky of peace within. The next morning, as dew still clung to the leaves and the birds began their chorus, the master returned to the meditation hall. The lay practitioners were all present, but today their eyes seemed lighter, as if they had slept well after last night's practice. Looking around, the master said slowly, "Today we will speak about another aspect of controlling emotions, patience." A middle-aged woman shared, "I find myself most easily angered when I have to wait. Just one person arriving late makes me upset, even when I know they didn't mean to." The master nodded. Waiting is the true test of patience. When we wait, the mind rushes ahead, wishing things to happen on our schedule. But life does not follow our clock. If we turn waiting into an opportunity to breathe and observe, we will suffer less. The master told a Zen story. Long ago, there was a young monk with a fiery temper. Whenever he had to wait, he grew visibly impatient. One day, his teacher gave him a seed and said, "Plant it, but do not take your eyes off it until it sprouts." The monk sat all day by the seed, but nothing happened. By the third day, exhausted, he dozed off. When he awoke, a sprout had already appeared. The teacher laughed. "Even if you stare at it endlessly, the seed sprouts only when the time is right. Everything unfolds according to its own conditions." The story drew soft laughter from the group, but everyone saw themselves in it. An elderly man added, "I get upset when others are slow, forgetting that I, too, am sometimes slow." The master nodded. When we see that everyone has limits, we judge less. Patience is not enduring with resentment, but letting go of rigid expectations. He then guided the group in a reflection. Recall the last time you lost patience. Now, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and imagine that in that moment you had slowed your breath. Smile gently. How would it have been different? You will see, it is not the situation that changes first, but your own mind. A young man asked, "Master, I understand patience is good, but what if people take advantage of it?" The master replied, "Patience does not mean letting others harm you. Patience is mastering your emotions, while still acting decisively when necessary. If someone is always late, you can address it or adjust how you work with them, but do it with a peaceful heart, not with anger." The master told another story about a Zen teacher and his disciple. The disciple asked, "Master, how can I avoid being disturbed by others?" The Zen master handed him a cup of tea filled to the brim, then poured more water so it overflowed. The disciple quickly pulled back. The master said, "Your mind is like this cup. When it is already full of judgments and expectations, just one drop from someone else makes it overflow. But if you pour some out, meaning you release expectations, then it will be hard for anyone to spill anger out of you." The meditation hall fell silent. Everyone seemed to be reflecting inward. The master looked around slowly. Patience is the foundation of compassion. When we are patient with others, we give them a chance to change. When we are patient with ourselves, we give ourselves a chance to grow. That morning ended with a few minutes of quiet sitting, hearing only birdsong and the rhythm of breath. Faces that had once been tense now softened, as if a layer of mist had lifted, leaving clarity in their eyes. That afternoon, as the sunlight mellowed and the breeze carried the fragrance of flowers from the temple garden, everyone gathered again around the master. This time he chose a topic familiar to all. Fear, the master began. Fear is one of the strongest emotions in human life. It can make us shrink back, miss opportunities, and sometimes react blindly. A young woman shared, "I often fear failure, so I hesitate to try new things." The master smiled. Fear, at its core, is a protective response. It warns us from danger, but if we let it dominate, it binds us. Like fire, used wisely, it warms. Misused, it burns the house down. The master told a Zen story. Long ago, a monk had to cross a forest to reach a village to give teachings. On the way, he saw a large snake blocking the path. Terrified, he turned back and fled. Back at the temple, he told his teacher. The teacher asked, "Are you certain it was a snake?" The monk insisted, "Yes, certain." The next day, the teacher went with him. When they reached the same spot, the teacher pointed and smiled. It was only an old rope coiled on the ground. The monk blushed. The teacher said, "You see, many of our fears are illusions. When we don't look clearly, we exaggerate them and imprison ourselves in fear." The hall erupted in gentle laughter, then settled into reflection. The master continued, "Most fears don't come from reality, but from stories we tell ourselves. We fear losing jobs, rejection, sickness, yet often we haven't looked at them directly. Only when we examine carefully do we realize what exactly we fear, and whether it is as real as we imagine." A man raised his hand. "But Master, what if the fear is real, like serious illness or loss?" The master nodded. "When fear is real, we must still look directly at it, but with clarity. Fear won't vanish instantly, but if we accept it without resistance, it softens. That is the power of mindfulness." He then guided an exercise. Close your eyes. Recall a recent fear. Let the image and feeling arise clearly. Now, instead of pushing it away, say softly, "Hello, fear, I see you." Then breathe deeply, slowly. You will notice, the moment awareness shines on it, the darkness of fear begins to shrink. A young man shared, "I realized my fear grew bigger only because I never faced it. When I dared to speak it aloud, it lost its strength." The master smiled. "Exactly. Fear is like darkness. If you turn your back, it chases you. If you turn around and switch on the light, it disappears." The master told another everyday story. A woman was always anxious about her boss's criticism, working under constant stress. One day, her boss actually gave feedback. She trembled, but soon realized it wasn't as terrible as she had imagined. She said, "What I feared was only the scenario in my mind. Reality was easier." The master nodded. "Yes, most of our suffering comes from what hasn't even happened." At the close of the session, the master reminded, "Fear is part of being human, but if we embrace and observe it, it becomes a teacher, not a jailer." Everyone sat quietly for a few more minutes, feeling a gentle lightness, as though an unseen door had just opened in their hearts. Night fell. Crickets sang in the garden. Moonlight filtered through the meditation hall window, casting a serene glow. The master looked around and softly asked, "When someone hurts you, what is your first reaction?" Some said anger, some said sadness, others said silence while still burning inside. The master smiled. "Tonight we speak of forgiveness, a great gift many forget to offer." He told an old story about a samurai and a Zen master. The samurai, known for his fiery temper, was once deeply insulted. Seeking revenge, he asked the master, "How do I strike back to ease my anger?" The Zen master quietly filled a cup of tea to the brim, then kept pouring until it spilled onto the table. Surprised, the samurai asked, "Why don't you stop?" The master replied, "Your anger is the same. If you keep pouring into it, it will overflow and harm you first." Silence filled the room. The master continued, "Forgiveness does not mean accepting wrong behavior or erasing memory. Forgiveness is releasing the burden from your own heart. Holding on to resentment is like gripping a burning coal, intending to throw it at another, yet burning yourself first." A middle-aged woman shared, "I was betrayed by a friend. I cannot forgive, but because of that, I feel constantly exhausted." The master nodded. "That is natural. Forgiveness is a journey, not a one-day decision. Begin by acknowledging your pain, allowing it space. Gradually loosen the mind's grip." The master added another true story. A father lost his son in a murder. For years, he was consumed with hatred toward the killer, unable to sleep. One day, he realized hatred would not bring back his child, only steal the rest of his life. He chose to forgive. Meeting the murderer, he said, "I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I want to free myself." From that day, he slept peacefully for the first time in years. Everyone sat in quiet reflection. The master said, "Forgiveness is a kind of freedom. When your heart is no longer burdened by hatred, only then is there space for love and peace." He offered a practice. Think of someone you are angry with. Inhale deeply, then exhale, and imagine placing that burden down by the roadside. You may not forget everything at once, but today you can set it down. And if it returns tomorrow, you set it down again. A young man asked, "But what if that person keeps hurting me?" The master replied, "Forgiveness does not mean allowing someone to harm you endlessly. Forgiveness is to free your heart, while boundaries are to protect yourself. These two go hand in hand." Many nodded in agreement. They realized forgiveness is not weakness, but great courage. The courage to let go in order to live lightly. The evening closed in long silence. No one spoke further, but in each person's eyes there seemed to be a new light. The lightness of realizing they had the power to remove the invisible chains they had carried for so long. The next morning, as the temple bell signaled the early meditation session, mist still covered the roof tiles and the fragrance of incense lingered in the air. The master looked at everyone seated and softly said, "Today we will talk about something that often takes us away from peace: comparison." He asked, "Have you ever looked at others' lives and felt yourself inferior or unhappy?" Many hands were raised. One woman said, "I often compare myself with friends, seeing them with beautiful houses, fancy cars, good jobs, while I still struggle. I feel inadequate." The master smiled. When you compare, you are using another's measure to judge your own worth. But remember, each person is like a flower. The lotus never blames itself for not being fragrant like the rose, and the rose never feels sad for not being as pure as the lotus. He shared a Zen story. A young monk once lamented to his teacher, "Others meditate better, others preach better. I feel I am less than everyone." The teacher handed him a lute and asked him to play. After listening, the teacher asked, "How was it?" The student answered, "Not very good." The teacher smiled. "That is because you tried to play like someone else, not from your own heart. Practice is the same. Be yourself, wholly and sincerely." The hall grew still. The story had touched something deeply true in everyone. The master continued, "Comparison not only makes us insecure, but easily breeds envy, And when envy arises, we try to pull others down instead of stepping up ourselves. That is the trap that keeps the heart restless. A young man shared, "At work, when colleagues get promoted faster, I feel upset and lose motivation." The master nodded. Everyone has experienced that. But instead of asking a why them and not me, ask, what can I learn from them? Changing the question opens your mind. He emphasized, no two journeys are the same. Some flowers bloom early, some later. What matters is that we keep tending the soil and watering. When the season comes, our flower too will blossom. For practice, he guided, today, when you see someone better than you in some way, instead of comparing, silently wish them well and acknowledge your own strengths. Each time you do this, your heart will feel a little lighter. The master gave a simple example. A woman once felt inferior because all her friends were married while she was not. She compared and tormented herself for years. But when she began focusing on her health and pursuing her passions, she realized her life was also full of joy and meaning, even if different from the majority. As morning birdsong filled the air and sunlight filtered gently through the leaves, the master concluded, each of us is a unique story. We need not be like anyone else. When comparison ends, the heart is at peace. And when the heart is at peace, happiness comes naturally. The meditation hall fell quiet, with only the sound of a soft breeze. Everyone seemed to be listening more deeply to their inner voice, the one long buried under the noise of measuring and competing. These teachings were like the endless turning of the Dharma in motion, gentle yet powerful, lifting us from the darkness of suffering toward the light of wisdom. If you feel these moments have calmed and clarified your heart, please like the video, subscribe to the Dharma in Motion channel, and share with those you love. Each small act helps keep the wheel turning, bringing peace to many more. That afternoon, light rain began to fall. Droplets pattered on the thatched roof, mingling with the scent of damp earth, creating a serene stillness. Everyone gathered in the meditation hall, warm lamplight reflecting on their faces. The master slowly looked around and asked, "Have you ever felt misunderstood?" A middle-aged man spoke, "Yes, many times." I explained, but they would not listen, and I stayed angry and upset for days. A woman added, "Me too. Sometimes when family misjudges me, I feel hurt and want to avoid them." The master nodded. Everyone has faced this, but know this, being misunderstood is inevitable, for each person sees the world through their own lens. Sometimes we speak with good intentions, but they hear through their memories and experiences, giving it another meaning. If we spend our lives trying to make everyone understand us, we will exhaust ourselves. He told a Zen story. Long ago, a girl near a temple became pregnant but would not reveal the father. When pressed, she pointed to a monk. The villagers were outraged, scolded him, and even left the baby with him. The monk simply said, "Is that so?" and raised the child in silence. Years later, the girl repented and confessed the monk was not the father. The villagers returned to apologize. Again, the monk simply said, "Is that so?" The master smiled. The wise are not swayed by praise or blame. When misunderstood, the key is to keep the heart free of resentment and not cling to immediate vindication. Truth has its own time. A young man asked, "But Master, if we don't explain, won't people keep thinking wrongly forever?" The master replied, "If it causes no serious harm, let time and your actions speak. A truthful life will always be seen in the end. But if you rush to argue, you fall into dispute, and the more you speak, the more tightly they cling to their first impression." The master offered a practice. When you are misunderstood, first take a deep breath and remind yourself, "I know the truth and I choose peace over argument." Then continue living kindly, for only time can reveal the whole truth. He shared an everyday example. A teacher was criticized by parents who thought she favored certain students. At first, she was upset and wanted to explain immediately, but she chose silence, remaining dedicated and fair to her class. Months later, those very parents realized the truth and came to apologize. She later said that if she had lost her temper then, the relationship would have been damaged and trust hard to rebuild. Outside, the rain continued to fall, steady, unhurried, not loud, yet enough to refresh the whole land. The master said softly, "Our mind is the same. When we stay calm amidst misunderstanding, anger has no chance to arise. Only then are we truly free." Everyone sat quietly, letting his words sink in. A lightness touched their eyes, as though a burden long carried had finally been set down. The next morning, as the sun rose and light streamed through the leaves, dew still lingered in the temple courtyard. The temple bell rang, deep and slow, calling everyone back to their breath. The master stepped onto the veranda, watching lay followers tend to the vegetable garden. Everything seemed peaceful, yet in one heart a sadness was stirring. A young woman approached, palms together. "Master, I feel I am easily hurt. Just one careless word from someone, and I dwell on it all day. I want my heart to be stronger, but I don't know how." The master smiled gently. "Do you see the bamboo there? It looks slender, yet in the storm it does not break, because it knows how to bend. So it is with people. When the heart is supple, the words or actions of others cannot break us." Then he told a story. Long ago, a Zen master was insulted harshly in the marketplace. He only smiled silently. The man grew angrier. "Aren't you offended?" The master replied, "If someone offers me a gift and I do not accept it, the gift still belongs to them. Insults are the same. If I don't accept them, they remain with the one who gave them." Hearing this, the young woman was silent. The master continued, "You suffer because you take that gift into your heart, carrying it for a day, sometimes for years. But you have the right not to accept it. Your heart is a garden. Don't let others throw in whatever they please. You have the right to choose what nurtures you." He gave a simple practice. When you hear criticism or insult, pause, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, "Is this really true about me?" If it is, thank them for helping you see what to improve. If not, smile and let it pass. Not every word deserves a place in your heart. The woman nodded but asked, "But Master, what if it's my loved ones who hurt me? Can I just ignore them?" The master replied, "With loved ones, you must listen deeply to understand their suffering. They may hurt you with words, but often it is because they are hurting themselves. When you see that root, blame softens and compassion grows." He shared another story. A son was constantly criticized by his father for not living up to expectations. Angry, he wanted to leave home. But after practicing meditation, he tried to see from his father's perspective. He realized his father had lived a lifetime of hardship and fear of failure, and his criticism came from worry, not hatred. From then on, the son stopped arguing and instead worked quietly to prove himself. Over time, the father changed his attitude. Morning light stretched across the dirt path leading to the fields. The master said, "True strength is not making others fall silent, but keeping your own heart unmoved amidst storms. When your heart is calm, the words of others pass by like wind through the grass." Everyone listened in silence. Some closed their eyes, picturing themselves standing in a wide meadow, the wind blowing gently, cool and free. In that moment, they realized that peace does not come from controlling others, but from relaxing before what cannot be controlled. That afternoon, as the sun softened into golden hues, the courtyard filled with quiet. The bell echoed in the distance, mingling with the rustle of bamboo. The master sat sipping tea when a middle-aged man entered, his face heavy, eyes red. "Master," his voice trembled, "I cannot forget the past. Every memory cuts like yesterday's wound. I know I should let go, but the harder I try to forget, the stronger it comes back." The master looked at him a long while, then said softly, "Do you see the boat by the riverbank? Once it has carried people to shore, they must leave it behind. You are still clinging to a boat that no longer takes you anywhere." Seeing the man still puzzled, the master told an old Zen story. Two monks walked a muddy path after rain. They met a woman unable to cross. The elder monk carried her across. The younger monk grew restless but said nothing until they returned to the temple. "Why did you carry that woman? We are monks." The elder smiled. "I set her down by the river long ago. Why are you still carrying her?" The man's eyes brightened slightly. The master continued, "The past is like that woman. The more you cling, the heavier it becomes. Letting go is not forcing yourself to forget, but accepting it happened and refusing to let it rule the present." The man sighed, "But how can I stop my mind from returning to those memories?" The master placed down his cup. "Begin by recognizing when your mind drifts back. Each time, breathe deeply, slowly, and remind yourself, that is past, only the present is where I live." When you return often enough to the present, the mind will stop wandering back. He shared a real-life story. A mother lost her son in an accident. Every day she sat before his empty room, weeping endlessly. One day she asked the master how to forget. He did not tell her to forget, but advised, "Each time you remember him, light a candle and send him a blessing." At first, she did so through tears, but gradually the candles became moments of warmth. She came to feel her son still present in love, no longer as a bleeding wound. The man nodded softly. He realized he had spent too much time regretting, blaming himself and others, forgetting that the present was slipping away day by day. By late afternoon, the clouds were painted pink across the sky. The master stood gazing into the distance. Letting go is not a loss. It is opening space for peace to enter. When you drop a yellow leaf into the river, it floats away, and the water becomes clear again. The man joined his palms in gratitude, his heart lighter. Leaving the temple, he no longer walked with his head bowed, but lifted his gaze to the wide sky. In that moment, he understood he had finally set the boat of the past down on the shore. The next morning, with dew still clinging to the leaves, a young man came to the temple. His face showed restlessness. His eyes darted as though he couldn't sit still. As soon as he met the master, he blurted out, "Master, I've tried practicing. I chant, I meditate, but my heart is still irritable, uneasy. I want to change now, to find peace immediately. Waiting too long, I can't bear it." The master smiled gently, poured him tea, and invited him to sit. "Have you ever planted a tree?" he asked. The young man nodded. "Yes, I planted an orange tree in my yard." "And when you sowed the seed, did you demand fruit right away?" "Of course not, master. It takes years of care before it grows and bears fruit." The master nodded. "Then why expect your mind to change in just a few days? Practice is like planting a tree. It needs time, patience, and steady care." See, to make it clearer, the master told a story of a Zen teacher and an impatient student. The student asked, "Oh, master, if I practice diligently, how long until I am enlightened?" The master replied, 10 years. The student said, "And if I work twice as hard?" The master smiled, 20 years. Shocked, the student asked why. The teacher explained, "Because in your haste, your mind is fixed on the result, not the present. Enlightenment only happens in the present." The young man fell silent, letting the words sink in. The master continued, "Practice is not about gaining something in the future, but about making each present moment clearer and lighter. If you only chase the result, you miss the whole journey. He took the young man to the garden, pointing to a row of bamboo. Do you know, when first planted, bamboo hardly grows for 3 years. It quietly pushes its roots deep underground. But once the roots are strong, it shoots up meters in months. Your mind is the same. Sometimes the transformation is happening inside, unseen. But if you persevere, one day you'll suddenly realize you have changed. To help him practice, the master suggested, every day spend at least 5 minutes sitting quietly, eyes closed, focusing only on your breath. When thoughts wander, gently return to the breath. Don't scold yourself. Don't seek results. Simply practice steadily, and the mind will gradually settle. He reminded him of the power of small changes. A single drop of water falling on stone makes no mark at first, but over years it carves a groove. Your mind is the same. Each time you hold back an angry word, each moment you breathe deeply instead of reacting, each small good deed, they all carve out great change. Hearing this, the young man felt relieved. He realized he had treated his mind like a tyrant, demanding instant change, then raging when it failed. Now he understood. The mind needs patience and compassion. Before leaving, he bowed deeply. The master simply said, "Tend your mind each day as you would a garden. When flowers bloom, you will know you are on the right path." As he stepped out of the temple gate, the morning breeze brushed his face. For the first time in months, he no longer craved immediate success in practice. Instead, he felt light, like a farmer who has sown seeds and trusts that spring will come. That afternoon, as the sunlight softened, a middle-aged woman entered the temple gate. She wore a simple brown robe and carried a basket of yellow chrysanthemums. Seeing the master sweeping the courtyard, she bowed gently and placed the flowers on the Buddha's altar. The master paused, looking at her warmly. "You seem more at ease today." She smiled. "Yes, master, I've begun practicing what you taught, finding 3 things to be grateful for each day." The master nodded. "And how has it been?" She replied, "At first it was hard, because my mind kept clinging to sadness and resentment. But little by little I realized there are still so many things to be grateful for. I'm grateful for the sunshine this morning, for my health to walk to the market, for a meal shared with my grandchildren, and when I think like that, the unpleasant things feel lighter." The master invited her to sit under the Bodhi tree and told a story about a blind beggar. Someone once asked him, "Are you the most miserable man alive?" The beggar laughed. "No, I am happier than many. I can still hear birds singing, smell the flowers, and there are kind people who feed me." Surprised, the man asked, "But you're blind." The beggar replied, "Yes, I cannot see the light, but I can see the kindness of people. That is enough." The master paused, then said, "You see, gratitude is not waiting until you have everything to be happy. It is seeing, even now, what is precious to treasure." Her eyes glowed with new understanding. "I see now, master. Gratitude lightens my heart. Before I blamed people and fate. Now I thank them for the lessons. I even feel grateful for hardships, because they led me here, to hear the Dharma." The master smiled. "Yes, gratitude is not just words, it is a way of life. A grateful heart lessens greed, anger, and delusion. For when you feel you have enough, there is no need for envy, resentment, or bitterness." He reached into his robe, pulled out a tiny seed, and placed it in her hand. "Do you know what this is?" She looked closely. "It looks like a lotus seed." He nodded. "Yes, if thrown away, it remains a tiny seed. But planted in mud, watered daily, it grows, and one day blossoms into a lotus. Gratitude is the same. If you nurture it daily, it will bloom into compassion and wisdom in your heart." She held the lotus seed tightly, as if holding a promise to herself. Before leaving, she bowed deeply. "Thank you, Master. I will continue to find things to be grateful for each day without missing any." The Master only smiled, continuing to sweep the yard. But in his heart, he knew that a good seed had been planted in the fertile soil of her mind. As she left, the sunset descended gently. The yellow chrysanthemums on the altar released a soft fragrance, as if proving that a grateful heart can also beautify the space around it. And in that moment, the Master understood that practice is not only chanting sutras or reciting the Buddha's name, but cultivating each wholesome quality in daily life, so that each day the mind becomes a little more peaceful, a little clearer, and a little more joyful. One early morning, when mist still covered the leaves, the Master was meditating under the Bodhi tree when a young man came into the temple, carrying a heavy sack on his shoulder. His face was grimaced, his steps heavy. Seeing the Master, he dropped the sack and gasped, "Master, I'm exhausted. This burden has clung to me for so long, but I don't know how to put it down." The Master looked at him with both compassion and understanding. "What are you carrying in that sack?" The man replied, "It's everything I think I must keep: money, papers, clothes, mementos, and even old letters, photos, gifts from those who hurt me. I thought keeping them would give me peace of mind, but the more I keep, the heavier I feel." The Master invited him to sit on the steps, then told a story of two monks who came across a young woman stuck by a stream. One monk carried her across. Later, the other monk angrily asked, "Why did you carry her? We are monks." The first monk replied, "I set her down at the riverbank long ago. Why are you still carrying her?" Hearing this, the young man fell silent. The Master continued, "You are like the second monk, holding on for years without letting go. Not only material things, but also memories, anger, regrets. Each thing you keep in your heart has weight, and the more you hold, the heavier your steps become." The man bowed his head, his voice low. "But Master, if I let go, what will I have left? If I give up everything, I fear I'll be empty." The Master smiled gently. "You are mistaken. Letting go is not losing everything. It is making space for peace and freedom to enter. When you release burdens, you see the open sky, and your hands are free to receive the new." The Master picked up a dry leaf that had fallen. "See this leaf? It fell because it withered. If it clung to the tree, it would only decay further. But when it falls, it becomes nourishment for new growth. Humans are the same. When you dare to let go of what no longer nourishes you, you make room for a better life." The man pondered deeply. He recalled how, for years, he had lived like that sack, stuffed with useless things, old gifts from someone who left him, papers from a lost job, unsent letters, all like stones he had loaded into his life. He realized he was weary not from the long road, but from the weight he insisted on carrying. The Master said, "Go home today, open the sack, keep what you need, release what no longer nourishes your heart, and with memories and feelings, let them drift away." Letting go is not forgetting, but accepting and letting everything rest in its rightful place. The man nodded, his eyes lighter. He stood, lifted the sack again, but this time it felt different, not because it was lighter, but because he had begun to let go inside. Leaving the temple, he felt the breeze cooler, the sun gentler, and his steps no longer dragged. The Master watched, silently praying, "May you and all beings soon learn the art of letting go, so that with each passing day, life may be light as clouds, mind wide as the sky." On a quiet afternoon in the monastery, the last rays of the day filtered through the leaves, falling on the sun-warmed courtyard. The sound of the temple bell rang long and clear, each tone washing away dust from the soul. At that moment, a young monk approached the master, his eyes full of yearning. Kneeling, he said, "Master, I have practiced for a long time, keeping precepts, reciting the Buddha's name, meditating daily, yet my mind is still unsettled. I still grow irritated when others go against me, still anxious when work doesn't go as planned. Isn't practice supposed to bring peace? Why am I still restless?" The master looked at him for a long time, then gently smiled. "Do you think practice is to change circumstances or to change your mind?" The young monk hesitated, then answered, "I think to change the mind, Master." The master nodded. "Yes, practice is to transform the mind, but many mistakenly think just meditating, chanting, or eating vegetarian is enough, while forgetting the most important part is observing and recognizing how your mind operates." He pointed to a small pond in the courtyard. The water was rippling slightly in the evening breeze. "See, when the wind blows, the water stirs and reflections are distorted. But when the wind is still, the water is clear and reflects everything accurately. Your mind is the same. When stirred by the winds of greed, anger, and delusion, the image of life in your mind becomes warped. Someone speaks a word, you get angry. Something goes wrong, you grow anxious. That is because the wind is not calm. Practice is not to stop the wind forever, but to know when the wind rises, to see it, and not be carried away." Hearing this, the young monk sat in silence. In modern life, we too are often like him, thinking that changing environment, work, or relationships will bring peace. But truly, if we don't change how we see and respond, the same restlessness will follow us everywhere. A person may leave the noisy city for the countryside, but if their heart still clings to gain and loss, even the wind through the garden can irritate them. The master continued, "There are 10 ways to keep the winds in your mind calmer. These 10 ways are not theory but daily practices." Then he explained them one by one. First way, when angry, take a deep breath and be aware of your breath. Do not react immediately. The breath is an anchor that prevents you from being swept away by anger. In today's world, when a message, email, or remark upsets us, pausing for a few deep breaths reduces much negative energy. Second way, put yourself in the other person's place. People act from their experiences, circumstances, and perceptions. When you understand why they act that way, you blame less and feel more compassion. Third way, contemplate impermanence. Events, feelings, and people all change. Today's anger will pass. What upsets you today may not matter tomorrow. Remember, nothing is worth sacrificing your long-term peace. The fourth way, choose gentle speech. Even when angry, speak as if you are watering and cooling, not pouring more oil into the fire. Words can save a relationship, but they can also destroy it in just a few seconds. The fifth way, keep temporary distance. If emotions are too strong, leave that space, take a walk, drink a glass of water, or do something else so the mind has time to settle. The sixth way, remember the good things the other person has done. Anger often makes us forget all the positive memories, remembering only faults. The seventh way, learn to let go of control. Many times we are angry because we want everything our way. But life is not always like that, except that some things are beyond our control. The eighth way, take care of yourself. People who are tired, hungry, or lacking sleep often get angry more easily. A healthy body and a rested mind help reduce the risk of emotional outbursts. The ninth way, practice gratitude. When remembering the good things we already have, we will care less about small things that cause irritation. The 10th way, cultivate compassion. When seeing someone wrong, think that they too are suffering. When our heart is full of compassion, anger finds it hard to take root. The young monk listened attentively to every word. It seemed the winds in his mind had also quieted somewhat. The master added, "Remember, these methods are not to force yourself into being someone who never gets angry, but to ensure that when anger comes, you can recognize it, smile at it, and not let it control you." In modern life, these teachings are even more precious. When we learn to manage emotions, not only do we find peace, but those around us also benefit. Just like when a lamp is lit, it not only shines for itself, but also brightens the whole room. Our peace is a gift to the world. Morning at the monastery, dew still clung to the leaves, each drop sparkling like a pearl. Birds sang from afar, blending with the rhythmic wooden fish drum in the main hall. A silent space, enough for every breath to become clear and meaningful. In the temple yard, the master sat on a small wooden chair. In front of him, a group of lay practitioners who had come to pay respects. They asked the master to teach them how to keep a calm mind when facing criticism and misunderstandings from others. The master smiled gently. People often want praise and fear blame, but praise and blame are two sides of the same coin. When you care too much about praise, you will surely be hurt by blame. To be at peace, you must first learn to stand firm between praise and blame. A lay practitioner asked, "But Master, when others speak false things about me, I feel injustice and want to immediately refute." The master slowly sipped his tea, then said, "Have you ever seen someone standing before you throwing a ball into the water and hoping the ball won't make ripples? Others' words are like stones thrown into the lake of your mind. If your mind is still, the stone falls and settles at the bottom. The lake remains calm. But if your mind is already turbulent, the stone will make the waves bigger. What needs to be done is not to block every stone, but to keep the lake still." The master told everyone a story about a famous Zen master of the past. One day, someone falsely accused him of a serious crime. The villagers gossiped endlessly. His students angrily demanded he clear his name. But the Zen master only smiled and continued his daily tasks as if nothing had happened. Months later, the truth came to light, and the slanderer had to apologize. The disciples asked, "Master, why didn't you explain when you were wronged?" He replied, "If I spend my whole life chasing after every rumor, when will I have time to do what truly matters? When the mind is calm, the waves will naturally subside." In today's life, we are easily swept away by social media, where praise and blame are only a comment apart. You might be praised in the morning, criticized by the afternoon. If you let your mind be pulled up and down by those waves, you will have no time and energy for what really matters. Keeping the mind like still water, that is a practice. The master offered some methods to help everyone maintain peace amidst praise and blame. First, ask yourself, is this true? If true, it is a chance to correct ourselves. If false, why be sad? The wind passes through the bamboo grove. The bamboo sways a little, then stands still. Second, practice letting go of the need to be liked by everyone. In the sutras, the Buddha said that even he, fully enlightened, compassionate, and wise, still had people who disliked him. How much more so for us? Someone not liking you does not always reflect your true worth. Third, hold firmly to what you do if it aligns with the Dharma and conscience. Steadfastness over time is the most powerful answer. A young layman shared that at work, he was often misunderstood by colleagues. Each time he lost sleep, constantly thinking how to prove himself right. The master listened and said, "Losing sleep because you want to prove yourself right is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will feel pain. You are harming yourself even before the truth is revealed." The master advised everyone that whenever misunderstood, instead of reacting immediately, practice 3 steps. Breathe deeply to cool the mind. Observe what emotions are arising, and finally, if necessary, explain with kindness, not with competitiveness. The key is to keep your inner self from losing balance. Another morning, as the master was walking around the temple yard, a young novice came running. "Master, some children in the village say I am lazy and don't work. I feel very sad." The master stopped, looked at him and asked, "Are you lazy?" The novice replied, "No, master, I always do the tasks you assign." The master smiled. "Then it's fine. Their words belong to them, not to you. Don't let untrue words become a burden you carry." The listeners all felt relief, realizing that peace does not depend on the world stopping praise or blame, but lies in our ability not to be swept away. Then you are like a sturdy tree, unmoved even by strong winds. At the end of the session, the master said, "Remember, praise or blame is only an echo. If your mind is a mountain, the echo will vanish. If your mind is a valley, the echo will resound endlessly. Be the mountain, not the valley." Everyone sat in silence, as if engraving those words into their hearts. That afternoon, the sunlight faded behind the mountains, the last rays filtering through the trees, casting a warm, golden glow over the monastery. In that quiet space, the master sat under the Bodhi tree, eyes gently closed, listening to each falling leaf. Beside him, a few lay practitioners waited to ask questions. A middle-aged man approached, respectfully bowing. "Master, I have a bad habit. I often compare myself with others. When I see someone better, I feel envy. When I see someone worse, I feel arrogant. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop." The master opened his eyes and smiled. Comparison is a habit of the ego. The ego always wants to stand out, or at least not be inferior to anyone. But have you noticed that each time you compare, your mind is not at peace? When envious, you are burned by the desire to surpass others. When arrogant, you are bound by illusions about yourself. Neither leads to peace. The master told a story about two seeds. One seed was planted in a flower garden, surrounded by radiant blooms. It looked around and sadly thought, "I will never be as beautiful as them." The other seed was planted in a corner with few plants, so when it sprouted, it proudly declared, "I am the most beautiful plant here." But then winter came, and both lost their leaves. At that moment, they realized that what mattered was not being more or less beautiful, but living their season fully. The master said, "Remember, flowers bloom in their season. Each person has their own time and conditions. Comparison only makes you miss the present moment. Instead of looking at others to judge yourself, look within to see if today you are better than yesterday." The man sat silently, reflecting. The master continued, "When you compare, you usually see only the surface, not the whole story of the other person. You see their success, but not the sleepless nights. You see their happiness, but not the sorrows they hide. Comparing based on appearances is like looking at the surface of a lake to guess its depth." A young woman nearby spoke up. "Master, I have the opposite habit. I always feel inferior, like I can't do anything well, so I give up too soon." The master turned to her gently. "Inferiority is also a form of ego, only instead of inflating yourself, you shrink yourself. But whether big or small, the ego keeps you away from the truth. The truth is that each person has their own seed, which needs to be cared for and nurtured in its own way." So the master gave an exercise. Every morning before starting the day, write down 3 things you are grateful for and 1 thing you want to improve. This helps you focus on what you have instead of what you lack. And remember, self-improvement is not to surpass anyone, but to live true to your own values. He also reminded them of the Buddha's teaching, "No one can pollute your mind unless you allow it." When we compare, we are allowing others to decide our state of mind. But if we return to caring for our mind, cultivating compassion and wisdom, then praise or blame, better or worse, will no longer hold much sway. That talk ended with the Master's simple but profound words. The lotus does not compare itself to the rose, nor does it grieve for growing in the mud. It simply radiates its fragrance. You too should live fully with your own goodness, and joy will come on its own. Everyone bowed, their hearts lighter as if they had just set down an invisible burden. In that silence, the wind through the Bodhi leaves whispered a reminder: happiness is not in being above others, but in being true to yourself. Night fell, a crescent moon hung in the sky, its silver light gently covering the monastery. The temple yard was quiet, with only the soft chirping of crickets and the trickling of water from the lotus pond by the veranda. The Master walked out slowly, holding a cup of hot tea, his gaze stretching out as if embracing the entire starry sky. Some disciples were still chanting, others quietly meditating in the hall. A young monk approached, bowing. "Master, may I ask one final question? Throughout my time studying the Dharma, I have learned about impermanence, non-self, compassion, and wisdom. But sometimes I still feel I haven't truly touched the root of peace. I still worry about the future, still fear loss. How can my mind truly be steady, even when circumstances change?" The Master set down his cup of tea and smiled gently. Peace is not a place you must reach, but a state you cultivate every day. Like this cup of tea, if you drink it while hot, you feel its warmth. If you drink it cold, you can still drink it, but the taste has changed. The mind is the same. If you care for it daily, keeping it warm with mindfulness and gratitude, then even as life changes, your mind will remain clear. The Master told an old Zen story. A student asked his teacher, "Master, what is the most precious thing I can carry through my life?" The teacher replied, "A peaceful mind." The student asked again, "How can I have a peaceful mind?" The teacher pointed to the river and said, "Look at the water. When it is clear, the river reflects the blue sky. When it is muddy, the sky disappears. Your mind is the same. If you do not let delusions stir it up, the truth will be revealed within you." The Master turned to the young monk. "You are searching for peace somewhere far away, while it has always been right here. Every breath, every step, every time you smile at someone or forgive a mistake, you are nurturing peace. You don't have to wait until there is no loss to be at peace, but rather learn to be at peace even amidst loss." The young monk bowed, his eyes moist. A gentle sense of relief spread through him, not because he had found an absolute answer, but because he realized the answer lay in every lived moment, in the present. The Master slowly sipped his tea, his gaze soft upon the lotus pond. "Do you see the lotus? Each season it blooms and fades, but the mud remains, the water continues to nourish, and the next season the lotus blooms again. Life is the same. There is joy, there is sorrow, there are meetings and partings. But if you keep your mind like the pond, even with winds blowing, the stillness beneath remains, and you will not be swept away." Silence filled the air. The sound of temple bells rang from afar, each note echoing long, spreading through the night. The disciples sat in stillness, as if carving every word into their hearts. The Master concluded the evening's talk with a reminder. Studying the Dharma is not to avoid suffering, but to know how to smile even in suffering. Studying the Dharma is not to become someone else, but to return to being yourself, simple, serene, and free. That night, under the moonlight, these teachings seeped into every heart like dewdrops falling on dry earth, cool and pure. Each person returned to their quarters, lighter in spirit, their steps softer, and in the wind, the Master's words still seemed to echo. Peace is not far away. It lies in this very breath, in this very moment, if only you pause to see it. Dear friend, we have just journeyed together through Zen stories and Buddhist teachings, where each word was like morning dew, gently falling into the soul, calming the restlessness and illuminating inner wisdom. If these moments have brought you peace, please like the video, subscribe to Dharma in Motion, and share it with your loved ones. Every like, every subscription of yours is a way for the Dharma wheel to keep turning, bringing the light of compassion and wisdom to more and more people. See you again in the next stories and lessons.